Time for another edition of Out and About with Grout, my podcast where I talk to people from all around the area about their lives, about what they do, and the fascinating aspect of what they go through on a day-to-day basis. And today I'll be talking with Doug Cupples, who wears three different hats, and he is, of course, on the Jasper County Board of Supervisors. He sells cars for Lauterbach and also is a minister. So thank you so much for joining me. If you have any comments on these podcasts, please let me know, or suggestions on people I could talk to later on. I would appreciate that. So thank you for listening in. I appreciate all the people who have said that they'd support me in this venture, and it seems to be going pretty well at this point. So Doug, thanks for taking the time to talk to me. What made you want to get into the car business anyway, to sell cars for Dean and Jason?
Yeah, well, actually, what got me into the car business was I was looking for a job back in 2001, and I was friends with Aaron Axtell, and Aaron said to me, "Hey, Doug, you need to come sell cars for me." And I'm like, "Aaron, I don't know nothing about cars." He said, "Doug, you know how to deal with people." And so I went and gave it a shot. My first week was pretty bad. In fact, one of my best friends came up, pulled into the lot at 1 week, and I leaned into the car, and it was a drizzly day, and he said, "Well, how's it going?" I said, "Well, I haven't sold nothing." And then another car pulled up, and I was ready to quit. And then another car pulled up, and it was an old Ford Granada. It was shaking and smoking, and the lady got out and looked at a car, and I said, "Well, I better go help her." And I sold her a car, and I thought, "Oh, I can do this." And then I worked for about 5-6 years in the car business that time, and then I went into ministry, because after you sell cars, you should go into ministry.
Sounds like a good transition, Doug.
Yeah. But the truth is, I went to school to be a youth pastor, and then we own a screen printing business. My wife and I do. I got out of it. She took it over, and it's been a great thing for her. And I went back to that for a little bit. I did some other things for a while, and then I came back to the car business in 2012. With Dean and Jason Lauterbach, and I work for them now, and it's been a great adventure with them. It's been, wow. I took a little year and a half there to go out and see if there was something else I wanted to do, and I was selling solar siding and roofs, and that was okay. It wasn't what I loved, and I love selling cars, so I went back to selling cars. And so you guys maybe have seen Doug's deals, and I know that's my son says, "Dad, you're just goofy on that." But Jamie, I really enjoy getting out there and being able to be creative and being able to let people know what's going on with me. And so that's kind of it. And what I sold 23 cars in July. And so it's been a good month for me, but most of the time I sell 15 to 20 cars, so that's pretty normal.
So other than the creative aspect of it and whatnot, and I'm sure it feels good when you sell a car, what do you like about doing this anyway?
Well, people ask me all the time about cars or what car I would own, and first thing I tell them is I'm not a car guy. I'm a people guy.
Okay.
I like people. That's more interest to me than even selling a car most of the time. And sometimes that's obvious, and I get some comments from, you made friends, but the truth is, my goal is to really treat people decently and well, regardless of whether they're buying a car or whether we're just sitting at a table or, doing whatever. And so I enjoy working with people, and the car business gives me that opportunity to do that, and has afforded me a living, and so I'm very thankful.
Doug, you and I are kindred spirits in that regard, because, even before I was terminated at the radio station, I started working at Hy-Vee on the weekends. And basically, it was just selling ribs, and then once I lost my job, they've given me some more hours, so that's where I ran into you, and I just love talking to people, so it is a lot of fun. It is good, and I got to tell you, I can't think of anything better than just, sitting there at the front of the store greeting people and, asking them if they're up to date on their perks card or selling ribs or whatever the case might be. It is really neat. So are you ready to transition and talk a little bit about the Board of Supervisors?
I just want to say something else, Jamie. Thank you for asking me, first off, and you have been such a normal piece of Newton for so long that...
That's questionable, but thank you.
but for real, everybody knows who Jamie Grout is, or they've heard you, or they've seen you, and you've done a great job of making yourself known, and everybody seems to love you. So we appreciate what you're doing as a community, and we're supporting you. And I know there's thousands of people supporting you. So
well, thank you very much. And that's what this podcast series is about. We're trying to fill a void that is not out there right now, where we talk to people from around the area about what's going on in their lives, and especially when it impacts other people. And being on the Board of Supervisors does impact a lot of people. How long have you been on the board now?
Well, I ran the first time in 2012. That was my first run, and I ran against Denny Stevenson. And me and Denny actually became friends during that. I mean, I knew Denny just in the past a little, but we actually became friends during that time, and Denny's a great guy. And at the end of the night of like regular voting, I was ahead 400 votes, but then the absentee ballots came in, and I lost by, I think, 1,300 votes. But that was okay. I lost respectfully to a good guy, and I've had the opportunity here recently, these last 2 years, to work with Denny. He was appointed to come in and work with us, and so working with Denny has been great. He's got a lot of knowledge and a lot of wisdom, and I'm really thankful that I've had that opportunity to work with him. So I lost that one in 2012, and then I caught wind that Denny was retiring from it, and in 2016, and I thought, I'll throw my hat in the ring. And I remember somebody came up to me and said, it was Doug Bishop actually said, "What's your agenda?" And I'm like, agenda? I mean, I wasn't really a politician. I didn't know a whole lot about certain things, and I'm like, you got to have an agenda. He's like, if you want to win this race, you got to have an agenda. Well, I kind of walked away from that thinking, my agenda is to take care of people, right? Well, and I made some videos, and maybe some of you remember them. I made a couple of videos about gravel roads, and unbeknownst to me, they blew up. And I found out real quick what the most important thing was to so many citizens in our county, and it is gravel roads. And it has been a whirlwind of just like everything. I started, and so I went out and went after it and started digging and doing research, and I even come up with this. I found this stuff that would be like glue, so to speak. You could glue the road together, and that's really not what it is, but it's called stabilization. And what it does is it bonds the road together. And I went after that, trying to get that done. And one of the products was Base One, and I worked really hard and fought a lot in the boardroom and just could not get anybody to go along with me on that process, and because it's relatively expensive. And even had a guy come from the company that I was working with to talk to us, and he came, and we just couldn't quite get there. And so what happened after that was we kind of went back. So where we were when I started was we've got the county divided off in quadrants, just kind of split down the middle both ways, sort of. And every year they would do a different quadrant. So only 25% they would add extra rock to. And it was clear that we were not going to catch our tails on that process. Just wasn't going to work. And we were spending about $700,000 a year on rock. Rock's super expensive. The moving it is expensive. Everything about it is expensive. And then I was able to get my cohorts to go along with me, and we raised it up to about $1.3 million, $1.4 million. It was right there about in rock. And we started doing half the county every other year, and then we eventually raised it again to getting up there a little bit over that 1.5, 1.6. And then Brandon came along, and we've been able together to get this done with, now I mean, we put $2 million worth of rock out every year, and our roads are better. And I know some people will say, no, they're not, but they are better, considerably. And recently, this last year, we've started doing stabilization with the stuff that I had looked into. So I just had to be patient and wait for it. And those roads are working out really good. And Jamie, the way we do it is we take millings, which is ground up asphalt, some cement, and rock, and the base one, and we mix all that together. And Manats does that for us, and we have been testing different recipes, so to speak, and we have really come down to get a really great hard surfaced gravel road. And we're trying to do 4 to 7 miles a year of this stabilization, and it's really averaging out around 5. It looks like it's what's going to do, but it does a fantastic job. The first ones we did got some washboards in them, which gravel roads get washboards in them. That's part of it. But washboards come from speeding off and braking.
I see.
And that's how washboards are caused. Obviously, the more traffic, the more that's going to happen. People drive crazy fast a lot of times on gravel roads, which if you drive in fast on a gravel road where we've just put fresh gravel down and we put a decent amount, you shouldn't be doing that because you shouldn't be doing that anyway, but it's dangerous. It's like marbles. And we hired a new engineer a few years back, and he's smart. He's intelligent, and we're happy he's with us. He's done a lot of great stuff for the county, and we're moving along, trying to figure out how to fund these projects. Yeah. And so, but yeah, that was quickly my agenda was gravel roads, and and obviously we're big supporters of law enforcement. We think those are the two most important pieces of this whole county. Not saying that anybody else is not important. It's just law enforcement and road transportation roads is super important for us to have a functioning county. We have, and I mean this straight up, my department heads are amazing. I have great department heads, and just, I think about there's Becky in the health department, super smart, super organized, so glad she's here.
She was great during COVID.
Oh, yeah. She worked her tail off during COVID. She was working 12 hours a day. I mean, every day of the week. She was great, and her staff has been great. And then we got Kevin in community development. I'm just going to walk around there as I think about Kevin in community development. We've done a lot of changes with community development. And one of those changes, for some people that are still a little biffed, it seems like it was our fault, but it was not, was the Jasper County Animal Rescue League. That was not our business. That was somebody else's business. It was just on our land. And that business, for whatever reason, was failing. And we made an offer to take back the building. And we made a deal with them, took back the building and paid off anything that we needed to pay off, and got that resituated. And so then we've worked a deal with Parkview Animal Hospital over on the east side of town by Giovanni's. And wow, we must need to move in here. Our lights are going on.
Our lights just faded in the room. In fact, the lights just went out. Now they came back. So I don't know what's going on here.
It's emotional.
Is the county paying its bills?
I hope so. Yeah, and we're in a vault, actually.
Yes, we are.
So we might have a hard time getting out of here if we got locked in.
I'm nervous about that. Getting back to the roads, it's interesting that you should mention about how important it is that people don't go fast on these roads, because when I was in high school, my senior year, I had a good friend of mine who lived out in the country. His name was Ron Carson. And maybe some of you listening might know the Carson family, but he was going too fast on a gravel road, and a car rolled over, and he was thrown out. A car rolled over on top of him, and he was gone, just like that. So it's important that people do that. Now, I want to ask you about some of the other issues. and this is probably more of a lighthearted one, but I see where the Board of Supervisors have approved the courthouse lawn for RVTV.
Right, RVTV. I mean, that is a project where this is, and I'm a little rusty on this, but it's where they're going to bring in a band, food trucks, and it's sometime in September, and it's on a Tuesday or a Wednesday. It might be a Wednesday, but they're going to come in, and they do this to rally up support for the Iowa State football game that's coming, and they do it in multiple towns so that they can get that support rallied up. And it's just a fun thing, and there'll be food and excitement, and lots of people will show up for sure because it's a big deal.
What are some of the other issues that the Board of Supervisors are tackling these days, Doug?
Well, we took on. Well, I'll give you a couple updates first here. That's what I've got here. So F48, which is Old Highway 6 west of town, that's been getting redone. They say they feel like they're about 2 weeks out, or about second week of August they will be open.
Okay.
That's the plan, but of course right now it's raining outside, so the more it rains, the longer it takes. But hopefully that's the plan. And when we started, the plan was September in some time. So we're way ahead of the schedule on that road, and that's good. And then Highway 14. Highway 14 is not our project, but people ask us all the time about it. So Highway 14, so they should be on the north side in about 2 or 3 weeks. Okay. So in other words, what they're working on now should be about done in 2 or 3 weeks, and they'll be moving to the north side. So everything will have to change again, and people have to make new directions, and that's a real pain. But that is the state's. That's not ours. Mm-hmm. And so we don't have no control over that. It's just fair for us to give an update on that. One of the other things we did is we made an investment with Legacy Plaza. We worked a deal out with Legacy Plaza, Christensen, the builder, and then with the city. We all worked together on that. What we did is we borrowed money, but the money we borrowed, we are going to get back in tax dollars from what goes on there. And we set it up such. So yes, we borrowed money, but no, it should not be costing taxpayers anything, since we're getting that money back from that build. And but they have got 81 apartments. And they say they're about 3 weeks out, also about being done with that and those 81 apartments. And they've got 89 people signed up for them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Good. So they've really done a good job. I spoke with Kim Didier yesterday, and the hotel will start. They'll start building on the hotel within the month, also, and the hotel is going to be a swanky little, boutique hotel supposedly, and it should be fun. On the south side, they have that big grass area, and they've been doing concrete work over there, and they're within a couple of weeks of having all of that concrete work done for the green space. And
there's going to be a splash pad over there, and I hear that there's some art over in that area too.
Yeah, they do got not a statue, but like a
sculpture, I believe.
Sculpture is coming, a big one, yeah, and they're working on that. She said something about that, and that splash pad, I believe it's on 3rd Avenue and 2nd Street West is over there. Is the corners is what I'm thinking it's at, but over closer to Legacy Plaza itself. And so yeah, that splash pad's going up. I heard the city's going to redo our streets all up here and make them a lot nicer. And some people, there's people that, including myself, that live on roads that are, feel like they need more and more, work on them. But go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, a shameless plug here for Newton Rotary. We gave $25,000 toward the splash pad.
Oh yeah, excellent. Well, the thing about the splash pad was that they did a great fundraiser for that and raised a majority. Was it the majority of the funds really were donations?
Yeah. I believe so. Yes.
Yeah. And so
that's great.
So that's good. Yeah. And so they're going to be doing streetscaping up here, and they're going to change the way our downtown roads and stuff look. And because the truth is, when people come here, People want to know what the streets are like, including their own, but they also want to be able to be proud of their downtown and be proud of it. And we've had a lot of things happen over the years up here, and I'm pretty proud of the way that so many little shops are opened up and things are rolling. And I think once we get Legacy Plaza set up and we get a couple additional restaurants and venues or whatever over there, then what we'll have is really a really cool place for people to come and visit and be a part of our community. And so super excited about that as well.
Okay. Okay. The other hat you wear is that of a minister. And had you always wanted to become a minister?
Pretty much. I mean, like, I didn't go to church when I was a little kid. I went once to more than once probably, my mom says, but I went with the neighbor up to the little church that was up the street from me in Grinnell. And I remember one thing about it. I was in a concert where the little kids are singing, and I was probably 4 or 5 years old, and I was there, and the pastor was going around with the microphone to all his kids, and he'd say, "What's your name, honey?" And they'd say Sally, and they'd say Bobby, and they got to me, and I went, "Doug." He goes, "Son, you're going to have to speak up." And I grabbed the microphone and said, "Doug," and everybody laughed, and so that was my first real sermon, But but everybody laughed, and I've always remembered that, and then just through my life, the Lord just put me in different positions and places where He just was working on me, and when I was 14, I was riding my moped with my best friend, and he said, "Hey," or his mom said, "Kevin, you got to go to church tonight." Kevin Kuhn was my best friend back then. And Kevin's like, "Mom, I don't want to go to church." We wanted to ride our mopeds, right? But I said, "Kevin, are there girls there?" And so lo and behold, we ended up at church, and it's
because of the girls.
Because of the girls, that was a draw back then for a young man, but went there, and the Lord just continued to work on me and grow in me. I went to a big event in Marshalltown. Went to a big event in Marshalltown and accepted Christ as my Savior. And then later in life, later down the road, when I was 18, I went to a big event and just really dedicated my life to the Lord, like to live for Him. And now, granted, there's plenty of people listening to this thing that know me and have been around me and know that I'm not perfect and whatnot, for sure, because I definitely am not. But
you used to work with the guys say, well, there was only one perfect person and they nailed him to a tree.
That's right. Yeah. But the truth is, for people that know the Lord, the goal is to be trying to be moving that way, to be more like Him all the time. So I went to St. Paul Bible College, which is now Crown College in Minnesota, and it's a great school. But I didn't finish college there. I ended up finishing through the denomination of the Christian Missionary Alliance, because that's where I was with. And when I got licensed, I had a lady come up to me and say, "Doug, I've been praying for you for all these years since you were a little kid." And I said, "Well, I've only been coming here since I was 14. What do you mean little?" And she goes, "Back in Grinnell when you grabbed that microphone."
Oh, she remembered that.
Man, and she had prayed for me all these years. Wow. And so prayer does work,
That's neat.
And so I was trained. I was a volunteer youth leader for years with Tim Elrod, and loved working with him. It was just a volunteer. Well, Tim left and went to move on to different things, and I got asked to be the interim youth pastor, and I got to do that for 3 years. I loved it. Just had fantastic times with it. We had 100 kids coming almost every Wednesday, and the Lord really did a great work there. And then a new pastor came, and God bless him. I mean, it was time for me to go too, and so I went to Montezuma and was the youth pastor there for a year, and then came back here, started a skate ministry in that old indoor skate park. And ended up having, first nobody would come. Those skaters didn't want me there at all, but ended up having 25 kids probably a week coming, and so we did that. And then I started I'm going around doing pulpit supply a lot of places at that time, but then I ended up at Least of Saints is what the church is called now. And it's the one behind kind of south of McCann Village, if you guys remember what I don't know what the name of it is now.
Yeah.
But McCann Village.
Is that where the old Community Heights Alliance Church used to be?
Right. Well, the old Community Heights Alliance Church is right there. And then on back to the south and a little to the west.
Okay.
There's a little white church on that diagonal right
Okay.
before you leave town on the Regional Road that is the church that I'm
I see.
affiliated with now. And Scott Green, myself, and Cheryl Palmer, we all minister there. Oh. And when I say minister, I want to distinguish something. There's a difference between being a pastor and a minister than being a preacher. Mm-hmm. And the truth is, for me at this point in my life, I'm preaching because I'm so busy elsewhere. But we have 3 of us there at a little church, and it's grown to over 40. And it's just been a great church. And Scott Green has been fantastic to work with, and Cheryl has, and so I'm so thankful that we've got that little church. Now, I got asked to start doing some pulpit supply again, which having 3 of us at our church affords me the opportunity to do so. So I've been doing pulpit supply in Ira, pulpit supply in Grinnell. I'm doing Farrar this Sunday, and I've done pulpit supply around the area, and I love preaching, so that gives me that opportunity to do that, and I'm very grateful for my church family that is my home church, that they've given me the freedom to go do that.
Okay, now this is the time, I told you before the conversation that we're having, that we're supposed to talk back and forth, and I hate to be the only one to ask the questions. So, do you have any questions for me?
I do. So where are you from originally?
I am from Newton originally. I was born and raised here, and I graduated from the Newton High class of 1977. Always knew I wanted to be in radio. Yeah. I just was very blessed in that regard. And that, in fact, on my Facebook page, you can see me playing radio in my bedroom when I was 7 years old. I had my own record player and a microphone that I begged my mom to have. And I had these old school antique radios that had buttons on them, and that was my control board. So I was just very lucky that I always knew what I wanted to do, but my parents were very supportive of that. And I love Newton. But Doug, I've been, as they say on the WKRP theme song, town to town and up and down the dial. I started out in Knoxville, actually, when I was in high school, and then went to a radio station in Pella, and now the studios are in Des Moines. It's Laser 103.3, but it was in Pella, outside of Pella, and then the station was pretty run down. It was not a good radio station, and I wasn't learning anything, so I went to broadcasting college. Then, are you ready for this? To Beatrice, Nebraska, then back to Pella under new ownership. Then I went to Osceola for 4 whole months, and then from there I became a board op and producer at WHO. I went, while I was working in Pella, I was very ambitious then, and while I was working there, I had my own DJ dance business. I worked weekends at KJJY in Des Moines as Scott Phillips, and then also at Magic 93, KMGK, which is now KIOA-FM. So I did a lot of things when I was younger and just absolutely loved radio. So I went from Osceola to WHO, and then from there to KLYF and Q102. Where else did I go after Q102? I was working there as Jamie Phillips. And then John Carl was looking for a morning guy at KCOB back in the 80s. So John called me and he said, you can keep your job if you're Jamie Phillips at Q102, but you're Jamie Grout in Newton. So in the 80s, I worked at KCOB for a couple of years when it was on First Avenue, where Posh Spa is. From there, I went to Carroll, Iowa, to Rockford, Illinois, to Traverse City, Michigan, then back to Des Moines. I worked at KIOA, then did mornings at KASI in Ames, up to Waterloo at KOKZ. From there, I went to Mix 96 in Waterloo. Also worked at WMT-FM for a little while, for 6 months, and then back to Newton. And I was here for the last 16 years. I never thought I'd be back in my hometown.
Wow.
I know, what a resume, huh? I can't keep a job.
Maybe if there's any listeners, they could see if they could repeat that.
Yeah, there'll be a test over this later on.
Yeah.
Any other questions for me?
I do have another question for you. What in your life, and this you don't have to answer this question, but what in your life has been a hard thing that's happened to you that has made you grow?
You know, I'm not trying to brag here, but I'm just bringing this up because I had to give a speech when I was inducted into the Iowa Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in the DJ category last Labor Day weekend. And I held up my trophy and I said, not bad for a guy who's been fired 7 times. I guess we can make that 8 now. But my life lesson is, if you get knocked down, pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and just keep going. And that's what I'm doing with this podcast. I don't know where I'm going to end up, but I do believe that the Lord has plans for all of us. And I know that there's a plan for me out there. Absolutely. And I don't know what it is, but I've had a lot of people encourage me to do this podcast. So for the time being, that's what I'm doing right now. But I've learned just never to give up. And the lights are starting to fade in this room again. Again, it's weird. It really is. Do you have ghosts in this building?
No ghosts. It's just a timer that goes down when there's no movement, so it's not seeing our movement. But well, that's a truly great example of what it means to keep going. Because generally, including me in my life, I've quit things sometimes where I was probably close to really making it. Mm-hmm. And if I would have kept going, I would have probably been a whole different path. But I also believe the Lord directs my path. But yeah, Jimmy, you've gone through a lot in that regards, and to make the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, that's pretty awesome, bro. Yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Well, thank you for your time. I'm told that the best podcasts are the short podcasts, and we're over 30 minutes now. So I really want to thank you for setting aside some time out of your busy schedule to talk with me about this, Doug, and good luck to you.
Yeah, thank you, Jamie. God bless you, man.
Same to you, my man. And coming up later on in the week, we'll be talking with Bill Peters, who is the former high school principal. He's transitioning over to becoming the provost for DMAC, and I'm looking forward to chatting with him about his experiences as principal and what he wants to do at DMAC. So that should be a good topic and a good person to have as a co-host here on Out and About with Grout. Make sure you leave me some comments and suggestions on who you want to hear from next. I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, Grout is out. See ya.